Hey guys, it's Blockchain Brad, and today I'm very honored to speak with none other than Fabio Kennison. He is the co-founder of Nash. That's right, there is a name change right there, formerly known as Nex. Fab, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you for having me, Brad. It's awesome.
Not a problem. You always have a tone that's very humble, but you are leading something that is very well known in the crypto space right now. So you're the co-founder. It is Nash. Tell us more about Nash. Why the name change? What's going on, Fab?
Right. So tell more about Nash is a big question, really. So we were in the process of developing our brand. So we were called Neon Exchange to start, and very quickly, due to the token ticker, we become known as Nex. And Nex was actually a different brand than Neon Exchange. So when we were looking like, okay, it's much harder to promote Neon Exchange, so let's try to promote Nex. And we saw that there was a legal issue. So Nex, a UK company, actually contacted us regarding that.
Right.
And we were in this process of changing how we deal with the brand. And so we decided to actually go full steam and rebrand completely to avoid any legal problem, and taking down the complexity of the brand. So try to become something that was easier to promote, something that was shorter domain. So instead of neonexchange.org, we are not just nash.io, which is much easier, much shorter. And it really has also a deeper meaning. So we tried hundreds of names, and several really great names, but almost all with legal problems. It's like I do not envy companies on 2020 trying to find names. It's going to be even harder. But we got to Nash because of John Nash. So this is a person I have admired for a long time now, the mathematician. And he was actually the author of the Nash Equilibrium, which he plays a big role in economics and financial markets. And of course, if it plays a big role on those markets, it plays a big role on blockchain.
So it was a very symbolic name, for you.
Yep.
You really went for someone who you aspire to be, I would imagine, someone that you respect, more importantly. So that's important for people to know, I think.
Yeah, it's like why Tesla, right? Tesla is not a beautiful name, but it has a deeper meaning. He's a great physician and was the guy who was behind the electric motor. So I believe that's why Elon chose Tesla.
Sure.
So
now, can I ask you though, obviously, was the fundamental reason for the change and the rebranding more of that legal issue to try and ensure that you were clear in what you stood for? Or was there any other motive? For example, anything related to any other platform or any other company?
No, so it was driven by the legal case, but we were already in the process of rebranding. So we would change either way, and the change away from Nex was motivated by legal.
Okay. Well, let's talk more about what you stand for, Fab, because that's obviously the crux of why we're all here today to talk about Nash. Now, trade, pay, invest. These are big words. You couldn't easily put that last word down for an ICO. So really, let's talk about those three words in the context of what you are, which is fundamentally this security-based platform that's going to really revolutionize finance.
Right. So Nash... It's what is Nash is very deep question. So as a company, our mission is to distribute finance to everyone. So Nash is a fintech startup with the goal of distributing finance to everyone. And our first product is this decentralized exchange platform. So it's this decentralized trading platform, aiming for this bigger goal. Okay. So as objective, we have to launch this thing to achieve bringing distributed finance to everyone. And as values, we have our people in integrity, and what we aim for that is actually we have like this matrix with two big axes. One is mastery, and the other is execution. So we want to really perform at the best capable of, or people can do, keeping the integrity at the highest levels we can. So that's why even before it was fancy and had its own acronym, we went to the security token, and that's why we try to do things following standards and legal procedures that most of our competitors actually try to say it's not worth it.
Right, and you raise a good point, Fab, and we'll get to that with the discussion of security tokens. You were one of the very first, I understand, to really lead the way with security token initiatives to make sure that you're compliant in that respect. But let's talk more, I guess, about the fundamentals and the slogan and what you stand for. You mentioned that you're really trying to be this new platform for distributed finance, and I want to understand this better. So you argue that you have a payment service and a cryptographic trade is focus as well. So talk us through those terms. You know, why finance, and is this about trying to have some sort of product, as you mentioned, for the benefit of a company? Because obviously we know the narrative of open source and protocols that are for the people, but is this a way for you to make money as a company also?
Yeah, I think making money for the company is very important. So money brings freedom. Okay, so capital freedom is very important and allows you to take different decisions than you would have if you have no financial freedom. Mm-hmm. So profit is very important for the company, and it's also important because profit is actually a signal that you are actually solving a real problem for real customers, and you have some efficiency in doing so. So yes, we want the company to be profitable. Okay. But to be very clear, we are from the community to the community. So if you look at our competitors, you cannot claim a portion of their revenue, you know. Right. And we offered what I believe to be the most fair ICO ever, and we offer up to 75% of the revenue of this product, this main product we are building, which is the decentralized exchange, to anyone in the community. So there was even limits, like nobody could invest more than $10,000. So yes, we do have, and the reason we did so is because we are from open source community, as you said. So we do value that, and it's at the core of the growth of the company to rely on the community to help to grow.
Sure, and Fab, I want to stop you there for a moment because of that lottery. I did want to talk about this later, but you've raised the raise. Now, lottery, it was egalitarian by design. It was capped at 10K. But Fab, how can we guarantee that actually happened? How can we know that people didn't do double accounts more so and just, capitalize on the fact of access via the blockchain?
Yeah, so first, up to $1,000, there was a weaker KYC. So I believe that there was people trying to game it, but we didn't find anyone that was approved on the second round, which is the $10,000 round. Mm-hmm. And if there was any indication of fraud there, we would remove the account. So that's what we did to keep as fair as possible. So we actually partnered with IdentityMind at the time, and they were the KYC provider that verified documents. So we did have KYC for $10,000. Right. And there was many other features trying to control, like bot account creation. We had so when you were signing up on the ICO, there was some signing code running behind the scenes that would like fingerprint every computer, so that if someone was trying to run a bot, it would try to detect it. So right. There were several mechanisms, and I think we did an amazing job there. Of course, it's not perfect, right? But I have not seen any other company try to do at least 10% of what we did.
Sure, and Fab, in that respect, I don't want to be naive and infer that every team in the world of ICO and blockchain is doing this kind of egalitarian lottery-based model. So I want to cut to the chase and ask, What's the plan for the team in terms of the access of some of those funds? Do you have a lot of locked up tokens for your team? Because I think it's important to know, if you stand for this kind of open distribution of value, the way you let it out, how much is the team going to withhold for the long term, and how much will they be able to sell, at different times?
Mm-hmm. So I don't have the number exactly right now, but I think the team has 25%, 30%.
Right.
There was some remainder because of the way we did, like we would 10,000 guarantee allocation. So if people invested less than 10,000, there would be a remainder, and that remainder went to the company fund. So I don't know exactly how many percent, because it's like
sure
broken. But yes, there is a portion that is for the team, and that's important for motivating them. These people is working very hard. We have about 30 team members right now, and to actually attract the best talent without paying huge amount of cash, we do give away tokens as like participation on the company.
Right. And so that's essentially, is it fair to say that's a security that you're giving them? So that's a set value that they think is going to be of greater value in the future. So they're driven and motivated. So what I want to ask you, though, is access for them. When will they be able to essentially sell those tokens of value in the future? Is there any way in which you're monitoring that?
So we do have locks. So the founders have a 2-year lock. I think it's 25% release every 6 months after the sale. After the distribution. So to be clear, none of the founders have tokens yet. So I have less next than you probably.
I wish I had some, but I don't have any either.
Okay, so and the team members, it depends when they join the company. So there's also a vesting period. So what this means is during 2 or 3 years, these people will receive a fixed amount of tokens. And there is what we call a cliff. So after 1 year or 6 months, depending on the contract, you start receiving tokens. So there's people working in the company that is working very hard and has less next than other investors. So they have received.
I really appreciate your transparency in all of this as well. Let's talk a little bit more now about, you mentioned your purpose, but KYC AML. How important is that process for onboarding projects, just generally as a subject as well? We've seen the ICO bubble. So I really want to talk about the imperatives of that, considering that you are so pro-security.
Yeah, so it's not that I'm pro-security, pro-KYC, KML. It's just what you said is like, unfortunately, the world is not what we wanted it to be. It has imperfections. So there is people trying to use digital assets like normal assets. So people try to do money laundering with everything, like with washing cars, which was like the biggest scandal in Brazil ever. So there's crazy people out there, and we need to keep our company safe from that, right? So the company can have many issues. So that's why we adopt AML and KYC procedures. And I think that every company that actually wants to be on the long run will need to do the same. So if you want to be trading or transacting values at bigger quantities, you need to go through this process, because it's just a way for the company to guarantee it's not being used for illegal purpose.
Right. Okay. Now let's talk about a tough subject.
Maybe illegal is not the best word, but I would say immoral.
Well, that is interesting you raised that question, because right now we're in that legal flux where really many jurisdictions are still exploring what on earth all of these different digital assets are. So one thing is for sure though, Fab, the way in which you led this from the US out is very much based on making sure that you are compliant and you are legal, and that you really actualize this company you call Nash, and is soon to be launched. And we're going to talk about that. But I want to talk to you now about Neo, because you raised in Neo, you're a fan of Neo, the COZ is right up your alley. So what's going on with relationship between you and Neo?
It's as has always been. Has not changed anything really.
Mm-hmm.
So both Nash and COZ has always been very independent of Neo,
Mm-hmm.
and continues to be. It's like it's like if you decide to build something on Google platform, you're probably not having like everyday meetings with Google. If you become a big company or like a big case on the platform, you will have some meetings and you discuss things, but
Mm.
it's a completely separated entity. And that's the same case with Nash and COZ.
Mm.
So we have good relations and we build on the platform. But
So is essentially Neo really, that we know that Da Hongfei and Eric are both advisors to the project. So is it more that investment support and I suppose advisory, role that they both have in their expertise of entrepreneurial, advisorship and also technical?
Is mainly on the investment and entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
So at the very beginning of the company, there was bigger discussions and contributions, of course, because there was blank slate, So
Yep.
I didn't know, like you never know 100% what you're going to build when you are starting a company.
Mm-hmm.
And Hongfei principally help it define the initial product, which is the decentralized exchange. So it was very useful advisory there. And they are investors in the project itself through New Global Capital. I think it's Echo Fund. I don't know exactly the details, but they invested in Nash itself, and it's like a relation of a big investor and the company building on the project.
Sure. So they have a long-term interest, as I would assume many of your backers, and we can talk about that later. Let's talk now, I suppose, about just the space of STOs. I want to talk about that in terms of, some are suggesting the space, it's a bubble. Some are saying that it's legitimate. I'd love to know what you think.
Yeah. So I think it's legitimate. I think it has always been STOs. So it's funny because we had this conversation about 1 year ago, and at that time we were calling our ICO. Maybe we should have called STO, but there was no such thing.
Right.
But I just think it's the correct path. If you think about the companies trying to raise capital and what they're doing, so when people is buying tokens, they are actually investing in some early stage startup, and early stage startups need to raise capital or to grow or to build products or to market products. So it's a good path. I believe that this will continue to be, it's like a new tool on the belt. So when you are funding your company, you will have the option to approach a VC, you have the option to approach a bank and get a loan maybe, or you have the option to sell your car or do another.
Sure. So in that respect though, Fab, with fractionalized assets, a greater access to digital assets globally, do you think the whole process is going to get fairer and better and easier?
Yeah, I think there's no other way. It's like the internet, really. Blockchain is internet of value. And I really believe on that. Like borders becoming smaller regardless, right? So it's not only on blockchain. So if you think about people is traveling more, people is speaking more languages, people are immigrating and emigrating more. So I think there's no way around that. It's just the future. And as we grow digital, cash and securities and financial assets will be digital. So yeah, I really believe STOs is forever, and blockchain is only at the beginning. It's like starting.
Well, Fab, that's interesting because you're essentially becoming a lingua franca of data and of value. You're going to be universally transactable, being this decentralized mechanism. But let's talk about the mechanism itself, because to be frank, if the technology is not up to par, up to standard to cope with this, it's not going to work. So why does your off-chain mechanism work, that matching engine? What sets it apart? Let's talk about some of the mechanics.
Right. So one thing here is the custody, right? So, and we believe that when you have custody of the assets is the right way to go. It's like you are not relinquishing control to a third party that you have to trust. So that means you have a different approach in the market. So think about this. If you are buying something on the supermarket, and when you enter there, you have to buy a prepaid card, it becomes a different relationship with the supermarket. Mm-hmm. The supermarket already has your money, and the way you behave as a customer is different. And the way the supermarket owner is different also. Maybe they have no refund, or maybe they sell lost the deposit.
Right.
I don't know.
Essentially, here we're talking about decentralized versus centralized.
Exactly. But what we want to is that you have your wallet, you enter in the market, and when you buying something at the end, then you use your personal account to do so. Right. So that's the same thing that we do in real life, and we need to be able to do the same thing in digital life.
And are you currently working with entities or companies that really specialize in this support?
Yeah, so we are non-custodian, so we are not working with custodians.
Right.
And I personally don't believe, and I'm convinced that the path is towards no custodian. Mm-hmm. We already have technology. There's already mathematics. There's already cryptography developed, allowing a no custodian digital life where you have secure management of your digital assets without having to relinquish control. Mm-hmm. So when I see...
In that respect, though, Fab, do you think there's any risk at all for the consumer, given that you are doing something that's quite unique, in this space where you're removing custody and relying on the trust of the data and the maths?
Yeah, the risks always. So the risk is actually on the user now. Mm-hmm. So it becomes a security problem on the user. So we need to increase the security of the user itself.
Okay.
So if you are compromised, then your keys are lost. It's not if the exchange is hacked. So we need to have ways from our side to help you to be secure.
Sure. And you have a lot of different tools and services and products, and we're going to go into them. One of the things I wanted to ask you about was the goal. You have this very lofty goal of having 1 billion users by 2030. That's a huge statement. We hear many of them in the space. In fact, how are you going to achieve that? Obviously you have a very strong community and you have a lot of respect in the crypto sphere, but we're tiny compared to most of the people in the world.
Yeah, I don't think we are, like you said, we are known. I don't think we are even known enough inside cryptocurrency. Mm-hmm. I think we can be much better known inside crypto. So 1 billion users, this goal for 2030 is regarding to distributing finance to everyone. So when we say distributing finance to everyone, who is everyone? So we put a number there to say like what we would consider like yes, we are distributing finance to everyone. So how we plan to get there is actually building these financial tools. So the first is the decentralized exchange, and our goal this year is to launch it, improve it, and bring it to a stage where we can build on top of it. So that will serve as platform for other forms of financial interactions like payments, investment, besides trading, that we believe can reach this mass, because just trading, maybe there's not enough 1 billion users that do trading in 2030 to justify that. But we are going after other markets like payments and like investment.
Well, let's talk about them. Let's talk about them now, because I think it's important for people to understand if they want to take part in the investment, and we can say that legitimately now with you, that they're not just getting a DEX. They're going to get a multitude of a suite of options as you build them. So is that fair to say, Fab, that you are a platform of products you haven't even built yet?
Right. So we have built several pieces of it, and what we are going to build is actually not written in stone. Is
Mhm.
will depend on the market need. So um, how can I explain this very quickly? So when you have a startup, you have initial product, and what you do is you watch how that product evolves and how people uses it, and you try to find a way to bring passionate users to use your platform and multiply. So
Mhm.
it's what people call product market fit. So our goal first is to bring this DEX to the market and try to find its niche, and using that, using the profits from that, uh, and using the knowledge that we gain with those users, try to bring additional products that we
Mhm.
can introduce on our users and expand market. So it needs to be connected somehow, and we should be expanding our markets either way. So I cannot say to you that I would bring A, B, C, D product, because maybe when after A is really running, we decide to do Z.
It's really interesting because basically what you're saying is that the dividend holder really can expect and anticipate this kind of potential for more. You know, the
Yeah.
evolution of your whole platform, and even you, as you're alluding, don't even know the potential of what you're going to build. So let's bring it back to what you do know. So right now you have a DEX and you have payment service plan. Talk us through exactly what
Yeah.
you do have for that very fortunate dividend holder.
Right. So the dividend holder he's invested in a startup, right? So when you invest in a startup, this startup can build many products that you didn't plan. So when people invested in Google, they didn't know that Google would have Android,
Right.
you know? So it's the same thing. So we need to bring this reality to the market, which is when you are buying a token, you are investing in a small company.
Sure. So what do you have
Okay.
though, Fab, right
So
now?
so what we have is a decentralized matching engine that is able to do cross-chain trades. And on top of that, we have a zero knowledge key management, which is a system that manages private keys without knowing about them. So these two together allow people to trade without relinquishing their private keys across multiple chains. So you can trade Ethereum for Neo using your keys, controlling the process from beginning to end. And
Sure.
if you want to withdraw, you can always withdraw because we have no controls of the funds. All we can do is block a trade. So that's the technology we're bringing on the DEX, and that allows us to do a payment solution where you are never the funds you deposit in these payment solutions are never at risk. You are always in the control. So that's not what you have today. Your money is in your bank, and your bank can freeze your account.
Yep.
You
So
cannot do that.
So that technology, the zero knowledge proofs, that's really important because that's backed by substantial academic research. If you go all the way back to places like Stanford, Berkeley, and beyond, there's a lot being done in that respect. So is it fair to say that there's been a lot of evidence empirically that this can actually operate and it can be trusted?
Yeah, of course. And we also hire companies to review and attest the security of our protocols. So
Mhm.
when we build protocols, it's not like taken out of thin air. There's iteration and there's reviews there.
Okay. What about fiat gateways? You mentioned that now. When we last spoke, we were talking about USD. What
Mhm.
exactly is the plan globally for the kind of access that we can do with our money?
Right. So fiat gateways, the idea is to launch with main markets. So we already announced US support, and our goal is to have the main markets online at day one. And basically, is how you enter in this world, how you enter in digital assets. Right now, people have fiat, and they need a gate, right? So people has been using some solutions just as the gate. So
Mm,
uh, this solution offer many services, but all they do is they do this initial transaction, and then they move their Bitcoin or Ethereum to another
right.
platform where they do the trading. So we want to bring this small piece at the beginning inside the platform. And that's the fiat on and off ramps, is partners, where you can interact through Nash website to buy and sell your crypto. So the way it works is we have a API specification. So it's like a set of codes that some company needs to implement to talk to us. And there's like a security protocols and so on. And people implement that, and we integrate both. So at launch, our goal is to have the initial ones to help define those. So we already have these specifications. So when we launch, we can publish those specifications, and any company, maybe Brad decides to do a fiat gateway in Australia because I think it's legal there, right?
Right.
And then you can just build an API for that specification, and we can easily integrate you to have a gateway in Australia.
And that's a big deal, because that means that web interface, that web interaction is really quite seamless with the API. Yeah. My understanding also that's going to allow for a greater interaction with dApps generally and applications. Are you going to be friendly for mainstream apps?
And, so the thing here is we are much more as a marketplace of different fiat on and off ramps instead of doing it ourselves. So we want to empower this small business that are doing this today to have a bigger platform, a global platform through Nash.
Right. Well, let's go back to the original question of money. So what kind of currencies can we expect in fiat to be transactable, because you're going to utilize a fiat gateway? So is that going to be open to all fiat, or is it just certain currencies that can interact with this ecosystem?
This depends on the partner itself. It's not Nash who decides it. So the partner will support the fiats that he can support.
So who are these partners though, Fab? You know them, I don't.
Yeah, we actually don't like to talk about this, because it's the same way you are using this
as a platform.
These headphones right now, and you don't know who supplied the plastic for it, you know.
But so, you do, respectfully though, you do.
Yeah. So the company who manufactures the headphone does know who is the supplier. So our goal really is to bring every provider that enters our platform at the same level.
Okay. Right. So again, you're reflecting that whole lottery model with every bit of information.
Yeah, of course. So when we release the platform, people will be able to see who the partners are, but other partners will be able to enter at the same level.
Okay, I appreciate that. I can't dig further in on that one. Now, what about with regard to risks of volume? Because there's some questions raised to the risks of launch and all of that. So let's talk about that, and then we'll talk about your launch.
Yeah, sure. That's a tricky question.
So I'd love to know
what's exactly the question? So how
much
volume
essentially, expecting? Right? Yeah, expectations of volume, expectations of coping. What's going to happen from this? Yeah.
So our goal. So we have this framework OKRs, objective and key results, and our objective for the first 3 months of operations is to be top 100 exchange. So I think that's about 1.6 million a day today. And our goal our objective for 3 months after that, so 6 months after launch, is to be on top 50, and that's about 35 million. The top 50 is actually very aggressive goal, because I'm sitting CoinMarketCap here, and as we all know, there's a transparency on blockchain out there. There's a lot of fake volume in the market.
That's where I'm going with this. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. So when we say top 50, maybe in reality is much higher than that, because we cannot do that.
But Fab, as the bullshit subsides and as a lot of this fake volume is righted with correct regulations, shouldn't that help you?
I hope so.
Mhm.
It's just I think it's the evolution of the market, really.
Okay. Well, talk me through
So
the process though that you're going to do to get to those milestones.
so I don't think that, just to get to the previous point, I don't think that it will help us as it will not damage the market. So I think the fake volume is actually damaging the market.
Okay, that's a good point.
Is sending mixed signals, and when that stops, it will improve the market, and that will help us. Okay.
Could that
Uh,
actually crash the market though? Could that really
I don't think
disaffect
so.
the whole market?
No,
Because
I
the
don't think so.
problem of fake volume is so magnanimous.
No, I don't think so because it's like the real volume is already being traded, so it will be the same volume.
Mm-hmm.
It will may bring more information, so people will be better informed about the liquidity of some assets,
Right.
and that may crash those assets, or maybe that will raise the value of other assets because
Possibly. So let's talk about yours
people will
then.
notice that they are actually more liquid than they imagine.
Yes, and as you've mentioned before, is liquidity is king in this respect. So how are you going to build this? You know, these really lofty goals that you mentioned to become that top 50. How are we going to actually do it?
Right. So it's important to say that I'm not saying that from day one of the launch of the exchange, after 6 months, there will be like a line increase on volume.
Yes.
And people will be able to try. No, it means that after 6 months, our goal is to have the features and the refinement on the platform that allows us to be a top 50 exchange.
Right.
Okay. So it may be in bumps. So as we add major features or as we add major refinements, we hope to see this improvement.
Sure.
So the way we aim to be a top 50 exchange is by having Bitcoin support. And that should come in this middle term. So that's our main bet.
Okay, so is it, and let's explore this because cross-chain trade is big on your platform. Is it just BTC?
No, of course not. It's all major markets. And so there's other ways for us to achieve the same goal, which is having a bigger share of the market on the coins that we already list. So our initial markets are already out there, people to look at the internet. If we have a deeper market penetration, we can be a top 50 performance.
Right.
But we can also have a top 50 performance with more and more liquid markets at a lower market penetration. Okay. Right. So the way we want to achieve these goals is by adding features that will allow us to, even with a smaller penetration on the market, attain or tap into very liquid markets.
Sure. So BTC must be happy with you. BTC, I was going to say, yes, BTC, Litecoin, you've got, and your own, even in fact, in that respect, but they must be happy that there's going to be an alignment of value. You would assume.
They must be happy. I don't know. I don't know if Bitcoin is happy. I think.
Well, there certainly would be developers that are really cheering, for your success because it's going to indirectly and directly affect theirs.
Yeah, of course, and their success will affect us also. So
right, okay.
We're in the same industry.
What about your index fund? Talk us through that, Fab, because that's something a lot of people don't quite understand.
Mm-hmm. So the thing is, most people. So it was very big in the 80s and 90s. This thing of index are actually so performant that doing active trading doesn't move the needle very much if you look at lower periods of time. So I'm talking here 5, 10, 15 years. Okay. So it's important for us as a product to offer these indexes. And actually, the next token, which is for the Nash exchange, it already is a type of index because as you trade on the exchange, fees are paid on the tokens you trade. And those fees are collected there. So the highest the volume token has, the more fees collected on that token it has. So the Nash token itself accumulates these tokens weighted by the volume because that's how fees are collected. So the next token itself is building an index.
Okay. Well, let's talk about
of the exchange itself, but
right.
we want to build the other indexes. For example, people don't believe they believe that platforms is going to win in the future. So we could build in the future a token that's actually represent a weighted by some measure of all the platforms that we list.
Now the big question, Fab, and that is your launch. Really want to know. I know you don't like to tell me when because you like to announce them, but just tell us what you can. We all want to know, when is the Nash launch actually happening? What can we expect?
Yeah, so when it's actually happening is when it's ready. Okay, so that's the question that I have been having for some while. I really wish I could say.
I do too. Is it going to happen soon?
The date. We are our goal is to announce the date of access. So this means the public will be able to access the platform on NeoDevCon. So this is an internal goal of the company.
Okay, so NeoDevCon, we can expect some announcements.
Yeah, by February 17, I have a presentation there, and our goal is to disclose the date of public access to the platform.
I might have to fly over and catch up with you.
Oh, it's on Seattle, so it's the good side for you.
Yeah, that's right. It's a long way. So February 17 is the big, announcement date for you. You're going to be on stage at NeoDevCon. That's exciting.
Yeah,
because everyone wants to know when this launch is actually going to happen.
Yeah, and together with it, we are releasing our new website, and with the website, we finally start promoting our company. And this is something that I don't believe we are very well known in blockchain yet, and we really need to promote more. But at the same time, people don't have access to too much of Nash. So people like you know us from other contributions. So that's why they believe in our product.
Yeah.
But in general, people is not familiar with everything.
And Fab, is that a problem though? Is that a problem for the company that you're not doing enough in marketing? That's the reality that I see in my role. No,
I think it would be a problem if we were investing a lot. So if you think about our budget, we do not have $100 million to just throw in market. So it's really important how we do that. And if we were doing spending dollars right now on marketing, it would be a no action. So what I can see to you, for example, if I promote Nash today and you saw advertisement, maybe a media article about us, you would enter in our website, and what you do, there's no action. You cannot log in the system, you cannot create an account, you cannot buy the token.
Yep.
So you would just lose your lead. So this is what we call lead. So we spend all this money to build this lead, and we just cannot put through the funnel and make this lead becomes a customer.
Makes a lot of sense, Fab. So are you going to spend the money at the right time with the right lead?
Yeah, so when we can actually have an action that the user joins our product and the user creates an account and see and can share with friends and help us grow, then we can market it because there's actionable things for him to do once he knows about Nash.
Yep, makes sense.
Right now, it just builds expectations that we cannot meet.
That makes sense. Now let's talk about money in the sense of funds. How's your runway? You raised enough, I would assume, for some time, but are you using those funds, and are you worried at all you're going to have enough?
No. So we already sold most of our assets. Of course, we kept some positions because if the market goes up, we want to tap on that, right? It's exposure to our own industry, but we secure most of the funds in fiat. And our goal was to actually secure the operations for some years. So we have about 30 people in the team, and that has a burn rate. So we are spending money to actually be without generating capital for about 3 years.
Okay.
And of course, we can squeeze more, try to raise more, but we are safe for that period of time. And that was a goal since the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Our plan actually is to become neutral in terms of cash burn this year. So when we say a top 50 exchange, is not a number that we are taking out of thin air. Okay, so
right.
that means today about $35 million of daily trade, and if we have that volume, we will break even with our runway.
And that's quite fast, respectfully to other projects.
Yeah.
That's quite fast. So you're very optimistic this is all going to play out, with the plan that you put forward.
We are very lean, so there's no big salary, really huge salary in the company. So that's why we can have 30 people and try to get a runway being top 50.
Right. That's good to hear, because you're frugal. You've always been that way. That's also reflected in the way you do your media. You don't pay your media. You don't engage in sponsored content. You're legit in that respect. But, harping back to this launch, though, tell us more, though, a bit about this, because this is what people are really pushing me on. What kinds of things are you going to release when you do talk about this launch? Is it just going to be a date, or is it going to be more information then? What's going to happen?
No, as I said, we're going to release our new website, and together with the website, there will be a launch program. Mm-hmm. And the launch program means you'll be able to create an account and participate on a referral program, exclusive referral program. So you need to have an invite link, and we will distribute those in person at DevCon, mm-hmm. and to members of our community. So if you are an investor in Next and you are watching that, you please join the community, and you will receive an invite link when it's time.
Right. So we can expect this live streamed as well, I would assume. It's available.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think Neo communicated that the DevCon will be live streaming, right? Mm-hmm. So I will tell more about this and how this works at the live stream.
Forward to that.
If it's not live streaming, Brad, it will go live either way, mm-hmm. and we will do a communication to the internet.
Sure, I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to hearing more at the DevCon. And for those who are attending, obviously you get a chance to meet Fab there and the whole team. Is it more than just you that's attending?
It's me, I think Ethan, our chief of infrastructure, also of marketing also. So it's about 5 or 6 people. Mm-hmm. It's not a full team. The full team is working. So yes. we didn't want to stop that because it's a big travel for. So we have this thing where we hire people no matter where they are. Mm. So we have people in Australia, India, Austria, London,
right. And Fab, I want to ask you, quite frankly, about the Neo DevCon just for a moment. You put a lot of faith in Neo because of these indirect connections. The investors are right there. Are you concerned at all about the truth and the reality that many people are concerned in the community about Neo itself, their whole ecosystem? I'm obviously going to be having an interview with Hongfei soon, but I'm asking you as someone who's really positioned beside him, as someone leading out something that aligns through entrepreneurial interests and financial interests. Are you concerned at all about the narratives that you've heard?
So I'm not worried really about Neo. I think they need to work on their platform, mm-hmm. as every platform really. From our company's perspective, Neo is just a platform, and we support others. Mm-hmm. So if we think about the long run, I'm not certain that any of those are gonna win.
Yep.
But I do think Neo will be there in the long run. I do think that actually most of the major platforms need to raise their game, because there's competition coming up, and there's a heated competition that's well funded. It's by highly qualified people. So I think every platform that's online today need to step up their game if they want to be leading.
So it's game on. It's game on. Now, what about your wallet? You have the Next extension. Interoperability is a core feature of that too. Talk us through that.
Right. So the Next extension will see a major redesign and repropose after the mid of year. So it's not very soon. It's after mid of year. And with that, it will bring multi-chain support. So it will be, today is just Neo. And the reason it's just Neo is because it was an important tool for us to control fraud when doing the ICO. So people need to authenticate with the extension. And now we are going to expand it to other chains. And after that, we will release together with this new exchange API. So we already have an API for the extension that we use ourselves for our suite. So people who are using the community or who participate in the sale know what I'm talking about. So it interacts with the website, but it's not public. It's something that only we know how to use it. So we will make this API public. And it's a way that you can interact with smart contracts and dApps regardless of this chain they are
So
running.
essentially you're opening up the kind of access that really hasn't done before through the API, through the wallet, through that interaction with web. Okay.
Through the extension, because what we want to enable is like every browser will become blockchain aware. So you can load your Nash account there, and with the Nash account you can interact with any dApp that's running on blockchain.
So is that one way in which you can really expand the the interests, I suppose, in the parties that can really take part in Nash ecosystem, because it's getting easier universally to do it?
Yeah, exactly. So important part of bringing distributed funds to everyone is bringing funds management to everyone. So funds management is how you store and how you use your coins, right? So if we didn't have an extension, we will not be fulfilling this goal. So we need to have wallet solutions to fulfill that goal. So that's why we're building it.
Makes a lot of sense. What about your exchange staking contracts as well? Talk us through what that is all about.
No, so it was in our roadmap, and we would open source it, and we open source it. So people know how the contract that we will store the tokens looks like, and can try to break it, and we can look for bugs and have bug bounty on that, which we have. So if people find any bug, there's a bounty for you on the stake contract. And it's really to give confidence that once the contract is released on the mainnet and you send your tokens to this contract locking up, then you know what you are doing. So because the contract is up there for seeing.
Okay, got it. So it's all about just making sure people know exactly what's going on at all times. And that's what is the beauty of blockchain. It is very transparent.
There's this saying, maybe I'm too old in blockchain for that, is that don't trust, verify.
Okay. That's a good
so
one.
what we are doing here is giving the tools for people to verify, not trust.
Got it.
So when they enter Next and they click stake, they can verify what's happening.
Sure. Now, with your team, I want to talk to you about that. You've got substantial credentials in your team, from David, Sam, Fabian, Jacob, Ethan, Carla, Lucian, Carl, blah, 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 goes on and on. But I really wanted to talk to you more about the youth of your team, in the sense that some may argue that you're very young, collectively.
Well, we have people with kids and more than 40 years in the team, so I don't think we're too young.
Okay, you're not too young?
Yeah, maybe that's good. The thing is that everybody here has some experience. I myself have worked several years in the industry, and we have had companies before. So
you're confident?
I'm confident. I trust my team.
Yep.
And I don't say this like a bragging about it, but I'm really happy that these people decided to work with us. So we are frequently talking about like how we attract good people. So if you look at our developers, you have like 7 or 8 people there that had CTO titles before. So for who don't know, CTO is like Chief Technology Officer. So you're leading the technology of a company. And we have like more than a handful of people there, and they are in developer positions. So we attract these kind of people to be developers for our team, and we are really happy they decided to join this.
Sure. Now, with regard to regulation, compliance, SEC, CFTC, and global jurisdictions, are you confident that also you're going to be able to meet the needs of these jurisdictions around the world? I ask you this because blockchain is borderless, and the complexities cannot be understated because of the distinctions of national approaches.
We will comply with the major jurisdictions that we operate on. And I think that's the only way we can go forward. We cannot only comply with small, easier rules in small islands across the globe. So what we need to do is actually to put the legal framework up and do the work. So it's something that takes time, takes money, and go through it, really go through it. We believe that we become stronger by doing so. And we actually bring safety to our investors. So our investors, do not be afraid that we're going to stop the exchange or close the thing because there's some regulator on breathing on our neck.
So do you have people in the team that are really focused on this aspect?
Yeah, so Fabian is the Chief Compliance Officer. Mm-hmm. And he actually handles all the legal and compliance. We have outsourced it because we are not lawyers and we do not have 30 years on security law. Right. So we hired offices of law in US and in Europe to actually help us on this. And we are very happy that these people decided to work with us because these are the kind of offices that work with the biggest of the world.
Right.
And Fabian is fully dedicated to that. And that's his position on the team right now. And it's kind of weird, Brad, because he's a PhD in artificial science, and he's doing...
yes, I have actually looked into him. I've spoken before, and he's based in Europe, isn't he?
He's in Zurich, I believe. Zurich, yes. And the thing is, but he is doing legal.
Yeah, it's quite amazing. So he has the best of both worlds.
Yeah, so he actually understands deeply what we are doing, and he was also CTO of a pharmaceutical company that he helped fund. It was called
Yes, I actually have a funny story. I contacted him once before thinking he was you. So it was we had a bit of a laugh about that because I was so impressed with his technological skills. I was surprised when he was, as you said, representing you in the way he does. So you are fortunate to have him, that's for sure. So a bit of a plug for him. Let's talk now. Now that we know... Sorry, go ahead.
What I wanted to say, Brad, is that he has been in a CTO position before, so he can actually translate to the lawyers a lot of the technology. Mm-hmm. So that's his position, and actually every founder has a role in this company, and that's actually how we work. So when you say, "Hey, who is doing legal for you?" It's actually we are outsourcing most of it, but there's a direct founder taking care of
absolutely. So Fab, in that respect, obviously, as you said, you've got people who have different roles, and in this case, you're covering your base with Fabian to really make sure that he can interact with all the different parties globally. So if you'd like to know more, certainly hit him up. He's available. He's accessible for what he stands for, and that is supporting compliance. Now, with regard to backers and partnerships, I wanted to ask you, Fab, about the plan forward. So we can go and check all of your investors. That's one thing. But what about partners for products and services for the future?
Mm-hmm. Right. So when you enter in your product and service, you'll be able to see the partners because you interact with them through those. And that's how I prefer that. I don't like these partnerships where you announce partnerships and there's no product for 2 years. And the reason is we are all small companies and we are just building stuff, really. So when you do a partnership like that, you are committing to a product that maybe does not have market fit, maybe it does not have need. and maybe it's not profitable for your investors. So I don't believe in this kind of stuff. I think that when we announce partners, we cannot say partners.
Right.
When we launch the product and people can use the product, okay? So I don't want to build hype announcing names.
Sure, but there are some partners that exist.
Of course, there's partners. There are partners providing liquidity. We are non-custodian and we have no control of fiat. So there's partners that are going to do the fiat side also.
Sure. So, and I really appreciate how difficult you're making it for me to get information. I respect that greatly, even though I am trying to find out more. Now,
it's because other companies do that. So your audience is expecting that. But, from my side, I have to do the right thing, which is say that I don't think that adds value. It actually brings the speculation that maybe drive the value on the wrong way.
Absolutely. Well, Fab, we've talked about a great deal of things today. It's been really informative. You've got a community that's really behind you. There's no question. When we look into different social media, you have your Telegram media. Sorry, you don't have Telegram. You have Twitter, you have Medium, and you have your own interactive website link where people can go and interact and find out more. Is there anything you'd like to say to the community, that really are behind you?
I would say thank you for believing in our company, believing in your project. We will need them. So the same way that they relying on us to bring value to them, we will need the community to bring value to us. And an important message here, Brad, is really think about the competition, think about the landscape. Which project is trying to build value to the community? Like I have not invested in the biggest exchanges coming out because I can't. And you probably didn't do also because you couldn't.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So we will need the community to help push our product. And we hope that by doing that, we bring value to this community also.
Absolutely. Well, you've got the tech, you've got the team, you've got the plan, you've got secrets you're not telling us, you've got DevCon coming up, you've got a launch coming up, you've renamed to Nash based on, mathematicians that you respect. Roadmap, any other milestones beyond DevCon that you really want to just plug right now?
No, I think the important message is that currently our goal is still launch this winter. So it has been
winter for you, summer for others. So
of course. I'm on the North Hemisphere, so it's like 20 March is the last day of winter, and this has been on our roadmap for a long time. It's like I'm actually amazed that we get so close, and
it's all coming together. You must be excited about that. You're so close.
I'm super excited. It's like I just want to show people stuff is because we have been doing so long.
Yes.
But the thing is, we really strive to excellence. So we will rely on our community to test the software, to go it and do iterations. So we are a startup. We're gonna launch a product, and we will do iterations as fast as we can to actually refine the product to achieve its goal. And that's the promise that we can make, is that we are delivering this and we are going to be working on this to attain product market fit as far as our capacities allows us to do that.
Well, Fabian Kenniston, you are the co-founder of Next. I sincerely mean this. Thank you very much for this long and detailed discussion about the next step for Nash. You're rebranded. You're about to hit into your, on stage with a launch pad of near DevCon, and also with the launch itself coming forth in your winter. You mentioned March. I'm excited to hear those kind of discussions. I wish you all the very best. I'm looking forward to seeing what unfolds with your team, really leading out the potentials of this distributed finance, really breaking those barriers that the people all around the world, quite simply, are just sick of having. You're part of leading a whole revolution of financial change. So thank you very much, Fabian, for your time. And I really would love to be able to catch up with you in the future as you develop.
Thank you, Brett, for the opportunity. As I said, these are our goals, and we will work together with the community. If we have any rocks on the path, we will communicate. And I just hope that we can achieve these goals and bring this value to people. People need it. So I receive many emails of people who struggle with the current financial system. Mm-hmm. And as a Latin American, I know very well what that means. So I think we are going to deliver something that we can be proud of. And I just hope that our community goes together with us, and we will try to bring the most value we can to this community, to these people that believe in us, so that we can honor our promises.
Absolutely. Well, from us to you, muito obrigado, because we appreciate it a great deal. And until we talk again, if you'd like to know more, go and certainly check out all the different socials. You can go to Twitter, look for Nash Social. There's more information and links there. Thank you very much, Fab, for your time, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay. See you.
See you, mate.